it's that time.
So stop. Yeah. What are you thinking?
Stop ain't thinking too much.
You know what I'm saying? It's in the zone right now, man.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. We got a couple follow-ups we could do real quick though from previous stories.
Follow-ups.
Yeah, from like
okay, proceed.
One, my man Jay Smully, the Smollett situation over there is
oh yeah, like when we talked about it, it was still fresh. We had gotten all the way to it being subterfuge for a bigger
situation
plan that was going on, that he just was trying to cushion that and let the bomb drop on.
But the story unravels more now that the cops was lying. The cops lied about the Kenyan brothers' testimony or whatever like that.
They did? What did they say? I'm not
aware. Basically, when they said he tried to bribe them for $35,000, and they said no. Basically, he hired them, big African brothers, to help him get in shape for a role he's trying to do, basically. Okay. But that's not what they portrayed to the public. So in that, he got a couple counts dropped already. You know what I'm saying?
But wait, it is all still just a hoax, right?
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I mean, that's still probably on the table as it being a hoax, but in that, they're finding things.
So he actually paid them for training and not to beat them up. That's
exactly.
what the police, that's what's coming out now.
Yeah,
why did they beat him up? But that's regarding to court to find out.
Exactly, but he never got beat up. As Brother Ty said, he probably didn't get. He might have did that himself or ran into something, man. Like he didn't even look beat up. He had like a scratch under his eye, brother.
Yeah. Well, I saw he pled not guilty, so we'll have to see how that plays out in the court.
And of course, a follow up to my man. We haven't talked in a minute, so a lot has happened. So we definitely haven't been able to go over the interview that R had with Gayle King.
Oh man.
You know what I'm saying? Robert, so you didn't do anything with underage? Lies! Lies! You understand? You know what I'm saying? He said I hog tied her. I don't know how to hog tie.
now you want to play the ignorant card. Now you want to be proud about not doing shit. I'll tell you what though. So there's never been a day where I didn't think R. Kelly was guilty of shit about anything. He's just blatantly guilty about this. Mm-hmm. That MJ documentary, the 5 leaving Neverland.
Oh, are you finally coming over to the side, brother? You know why? Because it's bullshit. Thank you. Great segue, Ty. You know what I'm saying? Yes.
I didn't see the whole thing. I saw.
I ain't watching none of that shit.
If I'm on a jury and the guilt or innocence is based on that movie,
what would you vote?
That feels like...
Keep it funky, brother.
That feels like reasonable doubt, man.
Why you say that?
Because it's just your word and your amended word when you have... Now, if we're just basing it on the movie, then we wouldn't be able to acknowledge the fact that they both said up and down adamantly that nothing ever happened.
In like 2005 or something like that.
Right. Recently, and one of the dudes wanted to be like the lead choreographer for some Michael Jackson performance. And
so what happened, bro?
No, that he couldn't be that. And now all of a sudden they got this whole document.
Yeah, so...
And part of me thinks that Mike probably did some creepy shit with children in his lifetime.
I don't.
I have no idea. But these two dudes...
I would say this. I don't think that Mike hopefully ever did some creepy shit with kids, but D.L. Hughley has just a funny ass joke, but it's so real. I wouldn't let him babysit mine.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He happy to say that shit about McNabb all the time. He said I would leave him around my kids. But he wouldn't say it like he's a cool dude, but because he never liked him. Like he always B-Hop used to say about Donovan McNabb. Like I wouldn't leave my kids around him, not at all. Like he saw something extra in that man. Like it used to always just trip me out that he would go there on him. Like, but yeah, like I don't. It's just too much. going on with that story.
I got a whole problem with that whole situation.
There's a whole camp of people that were amongst that age that hung out with Mike that have nothing but...
What was it, Corey Feldman? Came out.
Who already has allegations, amongst like being molested in Hollywood. I'm not going to name names, but he said that this has happened. So
and said Mike was never on that type time,
right,
man. So like, come on, man.
He said nothing happened.
He said nothing happened. There were other boys like the other two that were in the show.
Like, come on, man. He just loved the kids, man. That's all.
But like.
That's the thing at the same time.
Right.
You're like 30.
That's the gift and the curse.
When the last time you had some 7-year-old kids over at the crib just to hang out?
But guess what? Hold on. That's real talk. But you talking to me as a man who was able to go through my whole childhood. I had that. Listen, I can't. You can look back and do that all you want, but you ain't had your shit stripped. You went from being born to being a working ass musician, and you had none of that. So listen, he missed that, and psychologically, that was his way of giving back, and that's what he loved to do. That's how I look at that with Mike. You know what I'm saying?
To Steve's point, he grew up weird as shit.
You know what I'm saying? So come on, man.
Getting his ass beat.
And became an adult weird as shit. Mm-hmm. So, which is why I think.
That's too many. It's too many weird shit.
It's a real overarching, vague statement to say that Mike did some weird shit with kids and his dad. Because I don't know what that encapsulates.
Exactly.
I don't know what that encompasses. But I know whatever it was, there were things he did that we wouldn't do. Right, and weird ass shit can be something as simple as, let's all just cuddle up in the same bed and watch TV, play Nintendo,
to your point.
That's weird ass shit.
That's
it is.
So to say blatantly no,
you're fucking right. It was levels to it with Mike.
Right, I'm not saying diddling or playing just a tip. I'm just saying some weird shit happened.
You're right. Yeah, I mean that's I mean, I don't look. You got plenty of people that came out and said, no, Mike never did anything funny with me, but that doesn't mean that he didn't do something weird with somebody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, but the thing about this right now is that one, these guys already had their cases tossed out, it was over 10 years ago or something like that, right? And then now they come out and they got this documentary against Mike. Also, before the past, they said nothing happened. Right?
Yeah, it's like we're adamant, repeated over and over again.
Now, when Mike is dead and he can't even come and defend himself, now you come and attack his character. That's where it's different. R.Kelly thing. R.Kelly's still alive. You can attack R.Kelly for guilty or whatever.
Mike died in 2009.
Right. R.Kelly's here to at least defend himself.
It's 2019.
Mike's not even
and I got a problem with fucking. Hey, listen, I don't give a fuck. I probably won't cross paths, and if we do, we can just have a talk about it. But I gotta talk about it. Harpo, what the fuck is up? Why would Oprah? Why the fuck was you leading this nut ass documentary? Why was you behind this shit?
What was she behind? She behind the Neverland?
Didn't she?
Yes. She helped produce this shit. Why are you even dealing with any of this shit?
She used to be a big Mike fan.
And 10 years later after his death,
she was in Mike's house. That was the bench alarm.
Right.
I'm saying cuz.
The thing about it is that
come on, man.
There's never going to be a way to get a definitive answer in life.
Good.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying that to say, for her to go out of her way to have an HBO documentary on it when...
At this point in your career, you don't have to do none of this shit. That ain't nothing you even had to entertain.
It would just...
You know what I'm saying? At all. You don't have to touch that. Get that off my desk. You know what I'm saying? What the fuck did you entertain it for?
I can understand if you're embarrassed by it, you want to say no, it didn't happen, and you just come to a point where you're just that brave that you want to come forward. If it's true, then it definitely takes a lot of courage for them to do something like that. But there's just too many variables to just be like, oh my God, then Mike's...
That's the old school John. We don't...
You know what I mean? You gotta, one of my mantras as I've grown in my work career is the phrase assume good intent. Because I can't ever wag the finger at my employee, why would you do this? Goddamn, no, you shouldn't have did this. I would have did this way. Why did you do this? What was your thinking behind doing this? So, as much as it on the surface, if you didn't know any of the backstory, leaving Neverland just makes him look like a horrendous, awful monster of a dude.
But it's easy to do that with a movie.
Right, it's easy to do that with a movie. It's easy to do that with it being Michael Jackson, just the person that he is, the iconic image that everybody has of him, like that's not a hard sell if you want to push that, that agenda. But after watching that, man, I can't for sure like that.
Shit, Fugazi, B.
It's
Fugazi, B.
Yeah.
That's why the ratings was low. Good, because we ain't watched.
Because the first one probably got a lot of
it,
like probably did okay, but then the second one was sort of just more the same, and it was after he was dead, and so it was just like I didn't even finish the second one.
I didn't finish the first one. So I
ain't watched none of that shit, and I won't watch none of that shit. You understand? No. Fuck out of here. You understand?
But
I disrespect my man Mike.
But there's like you can't ignore it now. Right? This is too. There is like this racial aspect to this.
Of course it is.
R.Kelly, and now you got Michael Jackson, but nobody says anything about Elvis marrying. What was Elvis's?
Elvis used to hang with 12-year-old
Priscilla, when she was like 14, or dating her when she.
They got pictures of Elvis with nothing but like middle school Jones, like you know what I'm saying. 12,
Jerry Lee Lewis married his cousin who was like 14, the killer.
It's like, come on,
come on! I told you.
Playboy taking a picture of Brooke Shields, 10 years old, bare chested.
Right, crazy.
I mean, but there's a lot of crazy.
But the Elvis thing to me is.
You never heard that? You never saw that? Yeah, this is before we were born, so I guess in the late 70s. There's a picture of her just bare chested.
She's 10 years old. What the fuck? What type of chest does she even have?
You could say that Hugh Hefner is an animal and a monster for something like that, but I would probably point to Mom and Pop Shields for if they said that it's okay for your bare chested daughter to be in a fucking that's just. Dude.
But the Elvis thing to me is like, how is there not a film? It could be a mini docu.
That's real.
On Elvis.
You can Google that. Yeah.
This is the quote unquote rock and roll.
I mean, but like,
it's like how you
to say that there's a racial element in it is like, if there is
but some people don't think that
a minority involved, there's just there's an automatic racial element involved every time. Yeah. Like anytime you see somebody black, brown, or tan involved in something, there's a racial component because it's happening in America.
I mean, the whole push was crazy though, dog. Like you said, regardless of anything, just the month of like February for us, which was supposed to be our nut-ass Black History Month, just the stories that came out, like you know what I'm saying, that intensified over, you know what I'm saying. It's ridiculous. It's all the time they sway it, man. You know what I'm saying, like fucking the media. You guys are something the fuck else, but you know what? That's why the Podcastbols are here. Because we're going to talk that shit till y'all come for us.
Someone has to administer the truth.
You know what I'm saying? Fuck it. We got to talk that shit, man. Toast to that, man. We're going to talk that shit, baby.
But yeah, so no, I'm not. As far as Michael Jackson and the kids go, sorry to come back to that, but as far as Michael Jackson and the kids go and abuse, it's like, I don't, you can say you don't feel like he did anything, but you weren't there, so you don't really know for sure. So you kind of got to go off of the words.
He's dead, Staff.
Other kids who were around him and said,
you know what I'm saying? That's it for me. Like, he's passed, and it's 10 years since that man been dead. It's like, I have nothing else to, you know what I'm saying? Like, let him rest.
Yeah,
like you're saying, like, come on now, like, fuck out of here. Like,
and now you want to.
I mean, but no, because
for me, yes.
If there was evidence to prove that it actually happened, I'm just saying, like, remove the Michael Jackson from it. Like, let's just say
you got hard evidence
that,
of him doing something crazy.
Like anybody. Like the John Wayne stuff that was out on Twitter about him saying like black people shouldn't have a role and that they should. Let's just say that never came out and it just resurfaced this month and you were a crazy hardcore John Wayne fan. Would that change the way you felt about him? No, it wouldn't.
Who knows, man?
I mean, because it should.
It would. Hulk Hogan did for me.
Right, and it does for me. And it's awful for me to say, like, because I grew up just
saying my prayers and eating my vitamins.
Right. I mean, like,
he encouraged that.
It has to matter, man.
All right, to an extent, I guess so, man. I'm different when it, like, you know what I'm saying, it comes to somebody that's like dead, and if that was like, you know what I'm saying, they done passed, they way of thinking at that time. I don't know how they was thinking when they passed. You get what I'm saying? So I can't hold that to them instead of holding somebody to that's still alive and still maybe on that. So for me, if that's really what you was on all the way to the end of your death and that's what was proven or they showed and that came out, then so be it. That possibly can sway my shit. But if you're past and you've been going for a while, like, I don't know how the fuck you know what I'm saying, you ended your life and what type time you was on. You could have been a dumbass racist and on some dumb shit your whole life. But before you died, you could have got right and been on some different shit. So, you know what I mean? I can't just hold that on you because you're dead now. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
but you're living,
I hear you
it's
on some like people can change type thing, but I think there's, but
no, I don't believe fuck motherfucking him and John Wayne. You know what I'm saying?
but changing from being racist to someone who's not a racist anymore, and changing from being a pedophile to someone who's not a pedophile anymore. One's previous behavior you might be able to excuse.
Talk to it. Speak on it.
But, you know, the other behavior doesn't matter if you're not a pedophile.
Facts. He brought the John Wayne shit up, but facts.
When I went to Dallas for work, there was a guy, like, we couldn't check in at first because the rooms were messed up. So we were outside, like in the lobby waiting. And there was this giant white man that was outside waiting for his room with his family. He was there for like a court case or something, whatever. Had a Confederate tattoo on his arm. He was cool. Like, we were talking, we were like just shooting shit or whatever. And like he made it a point to like tell me, like, you know, I'm not a racist. I got this at a time in my life where, you know, all my friends and I thought it was cool. And, you know, if you were in a situation where you needed my help, I swear I'd help you, brother. You know, I'm not a racist, but having this on my arm, you know, every time I go somewhere, I'm identified as a racist. Now, you can wear shirts with sleeves, like, you are able to do that. He had on the sleeveless shirt
to show you his
the flag.
Stars and bars.
Exactly, the stars and bars. But there was a time when there were kids 8, 9, 10 years old that were all our complexions with the General Lee driving around with that Dukes of Hazzard car on their kitchen top that they thought it was racial.
Right. Watch the show.
Right. So
my dad ain't like it.
Right. Hell no. Everybody that know your dad know that.
We love your pop, boy.
Straight up, but you giving me this look like don't believe it, like
bullshit. And I'm gonna explain why.
Please. Okay. Talk to him.
One,
militant moment.
I never look. If you're not a racist person, you don't have to let people know that you're not a racist person. That's just like the I'm not a racist, but
exactly. But he sees the billboard. He knows I see the billboard.
And the other thing is that if he's not a racist individual and he knows that tattoo can be perceived as a sign of racism by everybody non-white, why didn't he have it covered up? He had to have it removed. Why didn't he have it covered up? And like you said, why he got to be out here with the sleeveless or the wife beater on or no shirt? I don't even know how country this
I'm bullshitting you, brother.
He could have put
I'll hang the shit out you.
On. Just because a person says that they're not racist or they seem to be intelligent doesn't mean that they're not racist. I mean, look at Nazi Germany in World War II. You have racist scientists, doctors, lawyers, politicians, highly educated people who are all still racist. So racism doesn't know any level of education. You can be an idiot to a genius. In some degrees, you feel like if you're truly a genius, you'd be too smart to be racist. And also, when you talk about us being kids and watching the Dukes of Hazzard, the thing there is that we were kids, and like I said, the adults in the room will know that, hey, look, that's that Confederate flag.
But that's another component of it, because the adults in 1980 had a different perception of it than the adults do in 20.
No.
I would agree.
I can't say that.
Yeah,
I can't say that.
Yeah, dog, that they perception prior. They was raised differently than adults in '80. They came from a different era where that race shit was halfway like.
No. I mean, but just the stars and bars in general. Like, there were black Southerners that you would see identifying. Like, listen, this is somebody who watched a lot of Southern wrestling, who saw the flag, all types of incarnations and different versions of different wrestlers coming down with it, including blacks. So, hell, if you, like, over this weekend, I think it was Saturday morning, I was up doing nothing while I was cleaning up. I had 1992 WWF Superstars playing the background. Big Boss Man come down. Big Boss Man had on the prison uniform. He had on the patch. Patch with the stars and bars. Nobody flashed an eyelash. Nobody even thought about the racial. Well, I'm 12, so I did not.
Yeah,
but you wonder how much it was even identified. But I'm saying, like, 2018 version of Big Boss Man wouldn't have anything near that.
No.
Right, because way or not even tolerated now, whereas back then it was certainly socially acceptable in the South.
Well, I mean, she can still say it's socially acceptable in the South now. It's always been socially acceptable in the South.
But I think
there's so many of them in the South.
But I think it was kind of maybe mainstream acceptable then because it was on television.
And it may have been
and glorified on television, whereas now it wouldn't even be tolerated.
But there's a difference between being acceptable, tolerated, and being right.
It's never right.
People used to say faggot.
Yeah, no, right. No,
it was more.
We're not saying that there was ever right, wrong, or
you can't say it today.
No,
you know what I mean? It's totally different time.
We don't want no beef. We don't want no beef. All right, keep it going.
No, he was talking about.
I
he was talking about an English cigarette.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what.
Pass me that.
Yeah, English cigarette. But yeah, I mean, things might have been more socially acceptable and even tolerated more so back then, but I still didn't make it right. You know what I mean? It's just people just accepted it more so.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, people are like, yo, why are we accepting this? Why do we have to accept this? We don't have to accept this
you say.
And then people start bringing that to the forefront. They start talking about why they don't accept it and why this shouldn't be socially acceptable anymore. And they start backing it up with historical facts. Like, you know, the Confederate Army flew this flag when they went and separated from the United States of America. And these people were trying to keep people in slavery. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, it's like one of the most inhumane. It is the most inhumane thing to happen in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah. So it's like, and this is the flag they fly. This is why we're not cool with that. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, then it becomes not cool, like you said, in 2018, 2019. But yeah, in 1988, it might have been looked at a little bit differently.
92 even.
In 1992, it was 4 years.
Yeah.
Looked at it still in the grand scheme of things. That's what I'm saying. Right?
Jesus, man, we're doing a podcast. Be a professional.
All day long.
It wasn't cool then either. Just more accepted. Like a lot of other things were more acceptable back then.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Even look at some of the roles black people used to play in movies and on TV. All the Sambo roles and the Coonan roles. And, you know, the pimps and the
just made me Hollywood Shuffle.
Yeah, it's
Robert Taylor.
Black acting school.
Yeah,
exactly.
Job turkey, motherfucker. You know?
Oh, man.
It was more accepted back then.
How good
was
that?
Like that's up there. It's up there. Yes,
is it
that's
your
your favorite?
It's my favorite movie.
Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong for that.
Nah, if it's on, I'm watching it. But it's, you know, it's not something that comes on like that.
It's not mine, but it's in like my top.
So, man, it's levels for me, man. But yeah, like I said, all that stuff was acceptable back then. And in 1986, Robert Townsend wanted to make a movie showing how ridiculous it was for this to be accepted back then in 1986.
Exactly.
So there were still people who knew that some of this stuff, even though the mainstream is cool with it and they want to pump it out, we shouldn't be cool with this. And I'm going to show you how ridiculous it is.
You know what my favorite movie is?
What?
Blazing Saddles.
Yes, that's a funny one.
Yeah. That's funny that you go Hollywood Shuffle and I go Blazing Saddles. Because they're kind of the same type of movie where they're like unpacking a lot of shit that's going on in the time. And Mel Brooks had Richard Pryor to help him, so I don't feel bad using a movie that had a white producer as opposed to Robert Townsend. Yeah, but they're both
to the left.
in there, man. Jesus, they're both so good.
Sorry, I'm to the left.
What would you like?
None of that.
You gonna say Goodfellas, Scarface? Scarface, is it?
House Party.
Well, all right.
I can see that.
I'm not mad at you for that.
You know what I'm saying?
I just don't compare to Hollywood Shuffle to me. I'm sorry, that movie is just.
No, you know, it wasn't going for me.
House Party came at a really crazy time in our growth because we were just on the cusp of those kind of parties and seeing that and seeing the things that we were just about to jump into and seeing it being done that great. Like the subsequent house parties can't hold a candle to the first ones. I mean, Robert Harris amongst other reasons.
Exactly.
Robin Harris. But it was just so good and it was just so at a perfect time.
To the point too. Not a long movie, but to the point with it. You know what I'm saying? Really like a day in the life of a kid. Like you felt like during that time as a teen, whatever, you can relate to that.
And, you know what I'm saying? And we're always going to remember seeing it through those 9, 10-year-old eyes. And that's powerful. So I could, house parties.
That's what it's funny to me to see smooth ass, cool ass, full force as some bullies.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right, if you hear the music, this is the last thing you would think. Right,
That's what we're doing. Burning house.
But they were great, man. Like everything about that movie was so good.
Yeah,
Play overdoing it.
Man, fuck you, toy cops.
Having a ball.
You remember that? He's in the backseat of the show. He was mad as shit. Like, are you kidding me, man? You fucked me up.
So wait,
fuck you up.
That obviously, House Party is numero uno, 2 or 3. Which one's better between 2 and 3?
I'd have to go back and watch both of them again to make that comment.
Okay, because my knee jerk is 3.
Okay.
2 was still, it was fresh off of Robin Harris's death, and they were doing the college thing. It was just too depressing. Where they tried to liven it back up with 3.
3.
And they had Bernie Mac in it.
Yeah, that's and a brief appearance by Chris Tucker.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they made they shit for, and there was another boy, like the boys that was doing the barbecue or whatever, the food, the
Freeze
catering.
Love.
Yeah, exactly. Yo, they was funny as shit. And it was AJ Johnson. Him and AJ Johnson.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Chill, homie. We got the partner.
Come around here and make 3 bitch pie around here. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, 3, 2, I'm with you. 3 was,
2 was like,
and
man.
China Williams.
I used to hate when 2 was on and nothing else was on. It's like, damn, I gotta watch this right now. It's like when I would go in the crib.
Yo, but you don't like me because I'm white, B?
Right. Oh, man. So let me segue this to what is your least favorite television program of all time? Like if it's on the TV.
M.A.S.H.
Give it to me. It took him 5 seconds to go. There's nothing worse on television
that must
than
cross
M.A.S.H.
your mind. At least
Fuck
once
M.A.S.H.
As soon as you hear that music, God.
It's 2019. That's how scarred I am mentally from that shit. That I still know I hate it. You understand? If I hear that
exact same.
oh my God.
I hear M.A.S.H.
Fuck
song.
M.A.S.H.
I think about having to go to sleep and waking up for 4th grade Monday morning. Like I think about like all the depression things in my life.
That's when the TV used to go off. Like the channels would cut off.
It was sign off.
You know what I'm saying?
You
Like
get the anthem and the
exactly.
snow.
Like nigga, like you knew that shit was coming on. Like it'd be.
Did you like M.A.S.H.?
I wouldn't say I liked it. I mean, it was one of those shows where if there was like absolutely nothing else on, I might just have it on. But I never really, I wasn't a man.
I can literally remember M.A.S.H. being on and me just turning channels to find commercials for a half hour.
I'm trying to
because
think.
I couldn't get my Nintendo to work because it was too hot.
Nigga.
I don't know.
Yeah, listen, dog.
TV show.
Fuck M.A.S.H.
Because what it amounts to is somebody, like, because I grew up in a house with a lot of people. So if somebody else is watching it, you have to do everything in your power to, like, move. You have to go somewhere else. If you see it on the TV, you avoid it. So it's not something that you would watch. So it's kind of hard to think about it in that context. But I know when I heard that music, it was time for me to do something else.
M.A.S.H. dog. Like,
it was everything a sitcom wasn't to me. Like,
what the fuck is
it ain't funny.
It's all. This wartime shit. Get
like
this
what
bullshit.
What did you just not like?
How did this win awards? And how many fucking years did this shit stay on?
Like I didn't like Good Times after James died, but I didn't hate it. M.A.S.H. was just like no. So I only watched the first 3 seasons of Good Times. After that, it's just like no. Because James gave you that realistic thing that like, okay, these kids might get their ass whooped if they do something wrong. Like some of them shows where they just started right after he whooped JJ ass. And they was just putting their relationship back together. But after James was going, they was just Keith and all that bullshit.
Yeah.
It just went haywire after that. Nobody's feeling that. But but man,
exactly, nigga. Agreed.
I don't know. I feel like
I feel like we had this conversation before, Steve. Maybe because I knew I was throwing the oop, and you was gonna slam that one for me.
I feel like if it was something I didn't like,
and it's crazy because it really took no time. It took no effort at all.
I had to think. I'm still thinking like
right. But see, we still got PTSD from it. We disliked it that much.
Yeah, dog. Like fucking M.A.S.H. Like that is the fucking worst thing, dog. Like oh my god, ilk. Like I could deal with Hogan's Heroes more than I could deal with fucking M.A.S.H. Man.
I used to like Hogan's Heroes.
Heroes. So, did you ever see Autofocus?
No, sorry.
It's it's a movie about Bob Crane's life. He was actually he was really into porn.
Oh,
swinging.
Who played him? I feel like I might have
Great Kinnear.
Yeah, I feel like I saw something.
And he died like mysteriously. He was actually murdered. and it looks like his like smut partner might have did it, but you gotta watch the movie. The movie was real deep. Like he wasn't just Colonel Hogan. He had a whole layer to his life. Yeah,
it was crazy closet.
Yeah.
I
think it was Focus. That sounds right.
But it's a bunch of that shit going up in them hills in Hollywood, man. It's different. I'm cool.
No, that's so funny. Yeah, nah, I don't know, man. Like the least favorite TV show. I mean, I
You
know
still don't know yet.
I had certain, I can't think. I mean, I know I had certain shows I used to watch when they came on, like, you know.
Well, so then they can't be it.
Exactly.
Because
So
we
what
would never
did
watch
it's something
anything.
that you didn't fuck
So
with.
maybe it was something that your
That's why it's probably hard for me to recall.
Maybe it was something that a sibling or your parents watched. Where you're like, oh God, no, this is on. I gotta get the hell out of here.
That could be like a soap opera or something like that. I don't know the names of them, but if it was like a soap opera in the afternoon, then out the house, I wasn't watching that.
Yeah.
But I do remember watching. It must have been like a
See, I don't find
Dynasty or Dallas, whatever that was, with my mom as a kid.
Dallas, no.
Fuck all them.
Dallas, Falcon Crest,
Yeah,
Knots Landing.
Get all them. But you know what?
No, fuck y'all.
Well,
No,
oddly enough, I am gonna fuck you up with this one.
Oh Jesus.
I'll never forget, year 1990 or some, I got on punishment for some shit. I was a wild kid, it is what it is. And I was stuck in the crib. Like, see, this is back when my brothers and everybody from my era can relate to this. We like going outside. We love to go outside to do all types of activities and shit. Sports, get with the chicks, just do whatever. But it was outside. You know what I'm saying? Fuck out of here. So listen.
You was outside.
So listen. When they put you on punishment, they made you stay inside, all right? And you couldn't go outside. I was stuck on punishment for a month. This is where I began my love for March Madness, the NCAA, and fucking Melrose Place. Don't ask me how.
You know what? Maybe that's one.
You know what I'm saying?
When Melrose Place used to come
Melrose
on,
Place,
I used to turn that off. But I wasn't a kid.
Don't ask me why.
Okay, I like when you went right there. I like the face you made right there.
I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Good. So we found the one here. We found the one on
90210.
All that.
I ain't watched that shit.
90210. All
Really?
that.
I watched that shit, but you watch Melrose Place.
Because it's a soap opera.
Burger King
That's
versus
essentially what it
McDonald's.
is. It's a soap opera. That's why I couldn't. I never.
No, you ain't watching Melrose Place, so it was different, baby. It was different.
See, I got all my soap opera out with pro wrestling, so I ain't really need all that. But I got friends that hated. Their least favorite thing was pro wrestling. Like I know people, like I work with people that was like that. Like
they used to hate pro wrestling
in
the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, man.
It sounds like wrestling at all. Some motherfuckers.
If you are grown up and taught that this is all fake, you shouldn't like this, fake, then you just watch it with that lens. Oh well, everything they're doing
loses its appeal.
Like if you kind of come to that understanding in your childhood. Like, I mean, shit, like I just told you, I was just cleaning my house, my apartment, and watching it in the background Saturday. I'm damn near 40, so I still can appreciate it for what it is, but yeah, I can see, like anything, man. Like, if somebody were to tell a child all the criminal and bad things behind music, then that kid's gonna grow up like music. I mean, they're gonna miss out, but that's just the environment they live in.
It's 1987, they're like, oh, you listen to that bad album? Let me talk to you about Michael Jackson.
Right. Like, that's the real thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
say about Mike.
I can't. We talked about this in a past episode. I hear R.Kelly, I hit the button. Like, I can't listen to this bullshit no more. But so that is essentially taking a portion of music out of me that I can't hear anymore.
What's it the y'all that said that?
Yeah.
I say when I listen to I sing the national anthem.
Exactly. I listen to R.Kelly, nigga. And there was a couple tracks that came on. I can't even hold it. It was one day I was on my joint. He came on with like, well, I know. Damn.
I came in the house.
That's in the name of love.
My daughter was playing something on Alexa with R.Kelly. The first I was like, oh, yeah, that's the jam. And I was like, oh, wait, no, baby, no. You gotta turn that off.
I ain't got even my playlist all crazy like that no more.
Yeah, man.
I still, some jams come on. Listen, I ain't judging him when that music come on, babe. You know what I'm saying? He's making them hits. He was in his zone. That other shit is just that other shit, man. But you know.
Yeah, that dude, man, he's got, I don't know if he's gonna get himself out of this hole.
Yeah, well, fuck it. He dug it.
Yeah,
and that's it.
I mean, he got money.
So
when in doubt,
he ain't got no money.
No, he don't know.
He broke.
He broke.
Didn't you hear the I Admit song? He's talking about something how he got to go on tour because he ain't got no money.
No, but I mean, show money is like quick money, so he do that enough.
There's no more shows.
There's no more American shows.
No, they shut them fucking up now, and them shows ain't them shits is fucking up. They ain't fucking around either.
Oh man,
money tight, shit slowed up. All right, it's slowed
He'll
up.
be able to do small venues and places. I feel like that, but
That
He might be about
that
10,
nigga gonna be
15
at
years
Charlie
in the Vegas
B's.
circuit.
I don't
That
think
nigga
he's
gonna be
ready.
at Charlie B's at the summer, man.
10 years, I said 10, 15 years. You don't think you can get there? Some low budget, some mob owned Vegas, still go to Riviera or some shit like that. Circus.
Fuck no.
This is what, and this goes back to earlier when we were talking about how
He gonna be at those Native American casinos.
change.
Yeah,
You can
do that.
change. But
Mohegan
there's
Sun
certain,
probably presents.
Yes.
it's Mohegan Sun.
Robert Kelly.
There's certain things in your past that's going to be hard for people to look.
Hell
past.
yeah.
You know, you might not do it anymore. And
Yes.
being a pedophile. Or
Man, you can't just grab the loofah and watch like pedophilia
that's
off.
worse. You could be a murderer, and people might be more willing to look past that before they would look past.
Hell yeah, absolutely. Because you can always, well, not always, but you could justify homicide. Don King made an empire after he was a convicted murderer.
You know, so it's
Break your legs in so many places. Had to crawl back into the ring. All right?
He legit told Larry Holmes that he would
what
break
I'm
his
saying?
legs if he fought under another promotion.
So you had to
And
crawl
Larry
back
believed
in.
him, so yeah.
As you should.
so, yeah.
We could do a whole podcast on the scumbag Don King was.
We will.
You should.
We should then. That'll be. Maybe.
I have to find my book, The Life and Crimes of Don King. I forget the guy that wrote it. I think his first name was Jack Newhouse, maybe. Yeah, it's so good, man. Don was so bad. He was so goddamn bad. Man. It's just terrible, guy. But like, it's weird because you always want to condemn that. Like, you shouldn't take advantage of other people, but there's like the smallest part of me that's like, I'm glad he was black. Like, it warms my heart that we were able to have somebody that manipulative. I would hate for him to be Asian. But yeah, whatever.
You know what I'm saying? And we back at it, man.
Yeah.
Saying?
Podcast balls, holler when you hear it. Was that good?
Yeah, it was great.
That was awesome, man. You know what I'm saying?
Time the motherfucking building.
Let them know who you are, player.
Stop.
All day lives on. And your man sleeves. You know how it be. You know what I'm saying? Podcastbols Society.